Everybody, welcome back to Women Carry Knives. So this is a response to Metal Complex, who tagged me in a past, present, future knives video. We want to talk a little bit about our past, what got us into knives, what do we start with, the present, what are you currently carrying, what do you like now, and for future, what is it that you would like to get or like to see? So first we're going to start with a very crappy knife I have. No offense, Smith & Wesson, but this is terrible. So I have been carrying a knife for quite some time. And I have another one here. We'll open up just a little Victorinox. This is my Nick Shabazz knife. So really, being a woman in the knife community and being a girl in in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it was mostly males, mostly guys. So I did grow up around the boys. I was always considered, one of the boys because I loved playing with the army men and building things and learning things from my father. And there wasn't ever anything that my father ever said no to, that he would teach me anything I wanted to know. And with that said, one of the first things I got was a Swiss Army knife. Now, it was a full size, and the reason I loved it was because, I had my scissors, I had my knife, I had my file. The one I had also had a corkscrew, it had a screwdriver on it, and it was perfect for anything and everything I needed to use. I can remember back to when I was about 12 years old, and I was already hanging Levlor blinds in my own bedroom, while my brother and my dad were putting them up in his. So that kind of started my love of making things, building things, and wanting to do things. But how could I do that if I was always looking for tools? So that's where it came to actually acquiring my own knives. So again, I started with this one, actually Smith & Wesson. I've had this one forever. This is a 440 steel. I don't know anything about this one, but it has been one that has been well used, and it has come in really handy. Now, do I like serrations? No, I don't really care for them. It is a liner lock. It is a thumb stud. It's bulky. It's huge. It's not something actually that I use anymore, but I've kept it around. So I was being young and not knowing much about knives. It was always the gas station knives, as everybody calls them. Cheap, but does the job. Then as time went on, I started getting into better knives, and then I started dating my husband, and that brought me into some more brand names, better knives. And I think he started me out on my collection with, I believe it was some Kershaws, it was some Autos, and I actually don't have those out right now, but I actually have a bunch of the Launch series. But being that Autos are not legal in California, that's not something that I carry all the time. However, I do still love those. From there, it became Kaiser, and then we had Tucson, and we had, or have, I should say, what else? I mean, I can't even think of all the brands that we originally started with. Kubi was another one. Then when I really started to get into knives, and so really that's the past for me. The past is, again, I was a girl. Girls didn't carry knives at the time. I did always have my Swiss Army knife on me. I did always have, my gas station knives here and there. But it wasn't until I got older that I realized the value of a good knife, one that you could have for a long time, one that you could keep around. So that brought me into the Tucsons and the Kershaws and the Kaisers. And then I attended Blade Show. And I learned and I watched, and my husband was really into knives, so I started getting more and more and really paying attention to what was out there and what I could get for my money and what did I really like, which brought me to the very first good knife that I like. Now, Blade Show brought me into this HEA Hunter, and I absolutely fell in love with this knife. It's a front flipper, and I have to tell you, when I went to the booth, the guys there were just absolutely amazing. They were so nice. Everybody at Blade Show was just incredible. Everybody took the time to talk to me. They took the time to teach me, and it was great. And I got this HEA Hunter in hand, my first front flipper, and just fell in love with it. I mean, this is just such an awesome knife. Another one I had also gotten was my Medford Smooth Criminal. This was another great knife. The size, I was still toying with sizes. What size did I really like? What did I want to get in hand? And I think, both of them are relatively about the same size. The difference is your handle and your blade type, as far as that goes. Now, the Medford was a great size. It fit in my palm perfectly. And I really just loved this knife. I mean, the action is super smooth. It's a fun knife. It really is. Like I said, the Hunter. The Hunter is smaller by not much. Again, if you're going to measure this one out, you're maybe a quarter inch, if even that. But this one also, I mean, it just feels good in hand. The handle, the way it just sits in my hand. Again, I love the front flipper on it. The stabbiness of it. Sorry, I'm just playing with it. The stabbiness of it. And so that's kind of where I am today is still, I think I'm figuring out. This is my newest, my EZC. This is my today, really. So my absolute love has been kind of around the board. We're talking about different blade styles. But I think my all-time favorite has to be a drop point blade. Now, I don't have a preference for, I guess I tend to be a little more liking the frame lock. Mostly because some of the knives that you see that are liner lock are a little more difficult to get into for me. And that is because I do have some fingernails there. If I did not have that, it would make it a little bit easier. I do have over here, and I had done a review on this one, the Bestech. And this is a liner lock, but this one is easier for me. So, I think it really depends for me on what it is. Is it a liner lock? Is it a frame lock? How does the liner lock sit? So I'm still, the jury's still out on that. I don't mind either one of them. Size-wise, I'm kind of all over the board. I do prefer what I would call a medium-sized knife. However, something like this Bestech, even though it's large, or larger for me and my size hands, I mean, this is a great knife. It feels good in hand. I love the drop point blade style. Going forward, there's a couple things. So I had a couple of companies reach out to me because I had been speaking about designing a knife. So no knife companies mentioned, but I've had a couple companies reach out to me and ask me if I would think about designing knives for them. So that is something I would really like to do. Now, on that, what I would really love to see is a knife that is, I don't even know how to say it. Pardon me. It's more my style, which would be a drop point blade. Handle-wise, I'd love to see handles that are not preformed. I don't want one that specifically tells me where I have to put my hand. I want one like this EZC, like Ray Laconico. He just hit the nail on the head with this one. This is absolutely awesome. You've got a handle where it's friendly to either men or women, no matter the hand size, because of the shape of the handle. The drop point blade, I just love those, like I said a million times. Whatever I design, I want it to be ambidextrous. I want it to be left hand and right hand for everybody. I want the clip to be a true deep carry clip. I want to see that clip so that your knife is going to sit all the way into your pocket. And taking into consideration women's pockets, what works, what doesn't work. So I would love to see CJRB and I would love to see Civivi and what they start to come out with. I think those are two budget lines that are doing fantastic. And I can't wait to see what comes out with them. No specific knife in particular. Although I would like to see the EZC go one size up. I think, an extra large size would be pretty cool. But for future, I'm more curious as to what the knife companies are going to come out with, and really getting to designing my own. So with that said, that's kind of my quick past, present, and future. And a little bit insight into what I'm thinking, how I started. And thanks so much for tagging me in this metal complex. Sorry if this video is super short, but it's short and sweet, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comments, leave it down in the comment section. We'll see you next time.